Thinking of moving to Provo, Utah? Well, then this channel's for you. In this channel, we talk everything about what it's like to live in Provo, Utah and Utah Valley, all the surrounding cities around Provo. In today's video, I'll be talking about Payson, Utah. Payson is about 15 minutes or so south of Provo via the I-15 corridor, and it's a beautiful city. So in this video, I'll be talking about the 5 pros and 5 cons of what it's like to live in Payson. And of course, I always throw in a bonus pro or two if you listen to the end. So don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel and click on that notification bell so that you get notified every time that I drop a new video about living in Provo, Utah. I'm covering everything from Lehi to the north, Provo and Orem in the middle, and Santaquin and Payson on the south. So with that, let's get talking about Payson, Utah. So the number one pro that I have for Payson, Utah is it is the gateway to the Nebo Loop Road. Absolutely one of the most beautiful drives in all of Utah. Stunning scenic fall colors and just all kinds of incredible recreation opportunities right in Payson's backyard. So you get to the Nebo Loop Road via the 600 East Road. That's also called the Petite Neat Road. It's right there off of Highway 198 and 600 East in Payson, right by the old Petite Neat School. It's a very kind of iconic old building built in the early 1900s, located at the top of the hill in Payson. So you take that road. That road is roughly 23 and a half miles long, and it brings you out into Nephi Canyon, and then just a few miles to Nephi City from there. But it's just, again, a very incredible road. You've got all kinds of fishing opportunities. You've got a little creek that runs out of there. You also have multiple lakes. You have the Maple Lake area, which has some beautiful camping and high mountain lakes. I've been float tube fishing on that in the past. A lot of fun to do that. And then you've got the main Payson Lakes area, where they've got several big high mountain lakes with walking trails around it. In fact, it holds a very fond memory to me because that is where I proposed to my wife almost exactly 25 years ago. It would have been sometime in August 25 years ago. So certainly I'd love that area. Then there are so many trails for hiking. If you want to hike, there's no end to trails. Also, you can mountain bike on those trails. My favorite is the Summit Ridge Trail. I love taking that trail, and it comes down into Nebo Creek and can bring you out into Highway 89, which is the road that goes on down into Sam Pete, on down towards Ephraim and Manti. But really, really cool trail. I took a group of scouts on that a few years ago. The first part of it's a little challenging. It's pretty steep, and then it kind of levels off, and you just come down through these little valleys with a little stream running in it, and then eventually on down to the main road that goes on out to the highway. So I mean, but that's not the only trail. I mean, there's trails everywhere. You go up Pole Canyon from the Nephi side of the Nebo Loop, and there's all kinds of trails off in there. Incredible camping. So when it comes to camping, there's a lot of free camping. You can just pull off to the side of the road in areas and camp. You'll see a lot of people camping in those areas. And then they also have some playground or paid campgrounds as well. You've got the Ponderosa campground. You also have the Payson Lakes camping ground area. You do also have the Blackhawk campground, but that's still closed. In 2018, there was a massive fire that went through the Nebo Loop area, and just burned up a lot of those areas. And unfortunately, that campground got burned up, and they still just have not rebuild it or fix it up yet, and that whole area got burned out. So it's kind of sad because there's still a lot of areas that are very burned out from that fire. So a lot of the scenery was destroyed, but it's not all gone. There's still plenty of beautiful scenery, beautiful fall colors. I think it's going to take probably generations for those areas that burned out to come back. All those big, beautiful pine forests are gone. A lot of the big quake and aspen forests are also gone, but slowly but surely things are starting to grow back and they're coming back, and so it'll come back eventually. But the number one thing for me for Payson is the access to the Payson Nebo Loop. And then if I forgot something, anything about the Payson Nebo Loop area, then mention it in the comments. I'll make sure to add that on a future video. But that is my pro number one, Payson Canyon Nebo Loop Road. All right, so time to talk about some of the cons to living in Payson. I guess probably the first con I think of is also part of the pros, because it's still small. There's not as much shopping, but that's also a con, because if you want to go to any malls or big hardware stores or things of that nature, you're going to be driving. Spanish Fork, which is maybe 5-7 minutes north on I-15 from Payson, has quite a few shopping opportunities. But if you're wanting to get into the malls and stuff like that, you're going to be ending up going to Provo and Orem, which is 15-20 minutes depending on traffic and time of day. So that's kind of one of the downfalls, is you still don't have a lot of the huge stores. You don't have a Lowe's or a Home Depot. You do have 3 grocery stores, but you don't have like a Target or a Kohl's or other things for that type of shopping. So you're going to be driving. You're going to have to go somewhere for that. Along with that is also, there's definitely way less dining options in Payson than, say, even Spanish Fork, and way less than as I move north in my mind on the map up to Springville, Provo, and Orem. But Payson does have one of my favorite restaurants. That is Mi Rancherito. They also have one of those in Spanish Fork. It's my favorite Mexican restaurant. I absolutely love it. I always get either a number 5 or a number 14. So go check it out when you're in town. Go to the Mi Rancherito, order up a number 14. It's 2 tacos and 1 beef enchilada. It's a great meal. But other than that, I mean, they did just build an IHOP. That's probably your finest fine dining option in Payson. You have a few other kind of the fast casual dining, like Costa Vida and Cafe Rio. I'm trying to think of what else they have. They've got some, they've got some of the other fast food chains like McDonald's, Taco Time, Taco Bell, Wendy's. I'm trying to think of what else they have. So not tons. That's definitely one of your cons. If you're wanting some of the things that a bigger city offers as far as dining and shopping, then you're going to have to go to the bigger city to get those. But the good thing is they're not that far away. Next on my list is Gladstan Golf Course. So Gladstan Golf Course is a Payson City run golf course. It actually borders Elk Ridge. Elk Ridge is a little mountain community. I'll talk about that in a future video. That is just kind of right next to Payson, Salem, Woodland Hills area, and just a small community, no stores or anything like that. But you go up basically through Elk Ridge to get to the Gladstan Golf Course, which is run by Payson City, and it's a course that's set up in the foothills, up in the mountains, kind of at the base of Mount Loafer. Probably my favorite course to golf in all of Utah County, and I've golfed almost all of them. Perhaps I'm partial to it just because I live so close to it, but I love it. Some of the most awesome holes to golf on, some beautiful canyons to hit over. I've definitely donated a whole bunch of my golf balls to those valleys by not being able to get it over those canyons, but there's just a lot of variety. I particularly love the back 9. Front 9's great too. Back 9 though, the scenery is unbelievable, and there has never been one time that I've been on that course that I have not seen deer, and multiple deer, no matter what time of the day. So there's just a lot of wildlife on there. I've seen a lot of turkeys on there. I've seen elk in times past too, so it's just kind of fun to see all the wildlife while you're on that course. And they always keep it very nice, well groomed and well taken care of. So for me, Gladstan is number 2 up on the list. And again, if you think that there's a better golf course in Utah County, then put it in the comments. But yeah, Gladstan definitely one of my favorites, and it's a Payson City run golf course. Okay, next con up on my list is there are some parts of the town that seem to be they're older and a little more run down. I'm thinking probably more of the west side of town, which still nice homes and nice areas, but some of the homes in there are not as well kept as they should be. I've seen a few homes that look like they're kind of boarded up, or the weeds have kind of overtaken the house, but that's not everywhere. That's here and there sporadically. And that's not a huge con, but that is just one I could mention, that some of the homes in that area are just a little bit older and in need of a little more care. All right, next up on my list is the shopping in Payson. So Payson's a city of about 20,000 people, and so over the years they've gotten quite a few more stores. They have basically 4 main shopping districts. Probably the biggest is the 800 South exit from the I-15 freeway. That's probably the newest and biggest of the shopping districts for Payson. That's where you have a Walmart. You've got a lot of different eating establishments. The Payson Cinema theaters over in that area. You've got an IHOP. You got a Cafe Rio, Costa Vida, Arby's, several gas stations, UPS store. That's just kind of where the whole shopping district of Payson is, at least the newer shopping district. When I say newer, some of those stores have been there for about the last 12 to 15 years, and some of them are just coming in. So anyways, that's nice to have those opportunities there. And then as you go up the hill, you'll come up to Highway, I think it's 189 is what it's called. That's the other main shopping district. They have stores that are all up and through Payson City. That road will, from the 800 South, if you go north, it'll kind of end up looping around to the right or heading back east over towards Salem. And again, there's all kinds of stores along that route. There's a Smith's grocery store on that road, several eating establishments, there's 2 gyms that are located on that road. So that's your other main shopping area. And then, of course, you can't mention Payson without talking about its Main Street. Main Street's kind of iconic. A lot of old buildings that have been there for many, many years, over 100 years. It's kind of that old town Western looking feel and look to it. So much so that almost every year they do Hallmark movies on that Main Street. It's kind of funny because they'll usually film those in July when it's 99 degrees outside, and they'll have that street blocked off and have it all decorated looking like it's Christmas season. But there's been a lot of different Christmas films that have been filmed, and they've used that Main Street as part of their backdrop for those films. But there's some old stores along that, and a couple of restaurants along there that you can go to, and that's kind of your third other shopping area. Then the next one is just further down on Main Street. If you go further north to the I-15 exit there, because basically there's two exits off I-15 getting to Payson, and so the Main Street I-15 exit is where you have some of the other commercial areas. There's another grocery store there, Payson Market. I've shopped there a lot, great store. There's a McDonald's that's been there as long as I can remember it being there. There was a Rite Aid there. I think it's turned to something different. There is now a huge Paris RV store right there, so that you can buy whatever RV you're ever thinking of is right there located in that area. There's a Subway, a couple gas stations. Much smaller shopping area, but definitely probably the 4th shopping district in Payson. For everything else, you're probably going to need to run on up to Spanish Fork or Provo. There's not tons of other shopping opportunities in Payson besides what I've mentioned. Okay, next con that I came up with is walkability. So Payson, I mean, if you want to get your exercise, it's walkable, but as far as being able to walk to the grocery stores and do your shopping, it's just not really a walkable community. It's pretty spread out. So you're definitely going to want to have a car to get you to the stores, to the grocery store, to the bank, whatever you need to do to run those errands. You're definitely going to want to have a friend with a car. You need a car, or you're going to be driving an Uber car to take you someplace that you want to get to. So there is the UTA bus does run through town, so you can walk to a bus stop and catch that, and that can take you on up to on over to Spanish Fork and then on up to Provo and Orem. But yeah, as far as walkability, not the most walkable community. Of course, if you lived right in the downtown area, then that's a little more walkable to some items. But overall, not a real walkable community. Next up on my list for Payson are the parks. For a smaller town, Payson has a lot of beautiful parks that are a lot of fun to take your family or loved ones to, or just go by yourself and enjoy them. I'm reading right off of their Parks and Rec page. It says Payson's park system is made up of 28 parks and connected trail system. So I'm going to just talk about a couple of my favorites. So one of my favorites would definitely be Memorial Park. That's in just right off of the historic and iconic downtown Main Street area. There's a big, beautiful park there. It's been there a long time with just enormous, massive trees. So there's tons of shade through there, lots of walking trails through there. They have a little stage, a cute stage with seating there, and they do summer concerts in the park. And that's a great place. It's also been a cool place for the Tour of Utah, for the bike race that they hold every year. About every other year, that Memorial Park is where they end that race. And so there's a lot of activities there. And so anyway, that park is really cool. They also have open grassy area for field games, and then they also have a bunch of pickleball courts right there. So that park's a lot of fun. One of my other favorite parks, of course, is the Hillman Softball Complex, and that's an area up that's just right off the main street, but it's probably a mile south of the Memorial Park. It's just a huge softball, baseball complex, big soccer fields. And then also right next to that, you have the Payson City Pool. You've got the skate park. I used to take my son there all the time. He's 22 now, or 21. And so he doesn't skate anymore. But back when he was 13, he wanted to go there every single day to skate. So we used to go there a lot, and he loved skating at that park. So that's a really cool park. They have another little park. I think it's called Hollow Park. It's just off of 800 South. And right before you get to the 600 South Road or 600 East Road that you can take to go up the Nebo Loop Road. And that's a fun little park that they've made. It's kind of a little valley floodplain type area, and they've grassed it in around the oaks, the scrub oak trees, and have a little playground, things of that nature there. And then, of course, they have parks and things that you can get to around most of the schools in town. But those are some of my favorite that I enjoy taking my family to whenever we go to visit Payson. So that's another one of your pros for Payson, is they've got some very nice amenities in their park system for their citizens. So I almost forgot to mention one of my other favorite parks in Payson, which is, I believe it's called the Kiwanis Park. It's just up at just as maybe a mile up Payson Canyon on the Nebo Loop Road. On the east side of the road is a really neat little park. Absolutely spectacular in the fall. I love taking I've got pictures every year before my girls started school of going up there and having a picnic at lunch and taking pictures with the beautiful fall colors across the street on the hillside. But it's a very, very wooded park. There's a nice little bridge that goes over the creek. Lots of areas for your family to explore. They also have a Frisbee disc golf course up in there as well. It's quite challenging because it's a very wooded park. So anyway, you can't miss that park when it comes to Payson. That's a great place to go have a picnic, enjoy the weather, fall colors, things like that. To my next con is the fact that there's kind of limited transportation options as far as public transportation goes. Like I say, there is like a UTA bus that runs down there. Now, I keep hearing that there are plans to run the UTA Trax train line on down to Payson. I think that's going to happen. And so that will certainly help out in the transportation department if you'll be able to catch the Trax train right in Payson. That'll speed things up. Otherwise, you're grabbing the bus and then having to make several stops until you get all the way up to Provo to catch the Trax train if you work in Salt Lake or something of that nature. So yeah, that's a bit limited. One of the other things I mentioned about one of the pros is the fact that there's not much traffic, which is a definite pro, but one of the cons there is there are some pretty narrow roads in Payson. Like the main street is just the iconic main street's just one way. You can just go south on that. So not a huge thing, but just a minor con. You can't go north and south on that main street, at least in the iconic downtown part. Once you get past that, then it's a 2-lane road. So again, that's not really a huge con, but that's just something to mention. So anyway, there's my con number 4. All right, so my last item up on the pros list is the light traffic. Because Payson's just 20,000 people, the traffic is really pretty light in Payson. You don't really have massive traffic jams, anything of that nature. Main Street can get a little bit busy around the rush hour times in the morning, probably more in the evening as people are getting off of I-15 and coming home, but it's really not that bad. Maybe you might have to wait for the light to turn green twice. You might at those times. Same thing with that 800 South exit. It can get a little bit busy during those main rush hour times, but really other than that, I mean, most times of the day you can drive anywhere you want. You're not ever really dealing with any kind of traffic within the city at all. In fact, there's not even that many stoplights through town. I'm trying to count them up in my head. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4. maybe 4 traffic, 5, you know, 5 or 6, really not that many traffic lights. They just added one down by the Payson Temple. So maybe 7 or 8 traffic lights in the whole town. Just not that many, not that needed. So that's definitely a bonus. If you kind of want to getting away from the hustle and bustle of some of the bigger cities in Utah County, then Payson's a great place to come because it's still relatively small, not a lot of traffic, and you can just get anywhere you want. And then again, you're only anywhere in Payson City is just a few minutes to I-15. So you're on I-15 in a couple minutes, and then you're up to Provo Orem area in 15-20 minutes. So as far as that goes, it's got great location for that. So my last con's not really big, huge thing either, but it is something just to be aware of, at least for now. So the schools are a little bit older in that they were built quite a while ago, but particularly the high school. The high school is looking kind of old, but here's the good thing. They do have plans to basically build around it, in the fields around it, and tear down the old one. I'm not sure when that's slated to start. I think 2025. They're doing the same thing with 3 of the other older high schools in the Nebo school district. They're doing that with Spanish Fork High School right now. For the last 2 years, they've been building the new structure around the old building, and once they're done with building the new high school, then they'll just they'll demolish the rest of the old school and turn that into the new parking lots. But I would guess they're probably halfway done with Spanish Fork. I believe they're supposed to begin starting that with the Springville High School as well. And then the year after, or maybe 2 years after that, is when they're going to be starting the Payson High School so they can update that. Right now it's old. It's just an old building, needs to be renovated or redone. And the good news is they're going to completely build a brand new school there. So within a couple of years, they'll have a brand new, nice high school. The 2 junior highs really aren't that old. The Payson Payson Junior High, and then the Mount Nebo Junior High. Both of those really aren't that old. Those are still in pretty good condition. So, and then of course, when it comes to schools, it's not really a con, but they still have the old Petite Neat School. I'll definitely be showing pictures of that throughout this video, just showing what a cool old building that is. They don't really do school there anymore, but it's one of the original schools in town that they've hung on to and kept some of that cool old-time architecture. Okay, so I've got some more bonus pros for you that I've got to mention. One is, well, 2 is Onion Days and the Salmon Supper. So every August, forever, Payson has been doing an annual salmon supper where they fly in salmon fresh from Alaska, and they have a big cookout, big dinner there in Memorial Park, the one that's by the downtown area. And I can't remember what it costs, maybe $20 a person now, but you get a nice big helping of salmon and potatoes and corn, all that kind of good food. So that's one of the pros. They have that nice celebration every August. And then in the first part of September for Labor Day, that's always when they celebrate Payson Onion Days. That's their summer celebration. And so they'll have week-long activities throughout that week, and then it culminates on usually on Saturday, where they have a big parade in the morning, and they also have, of course, things in the park, food trucks, just all kinds of different activities. So that's one of the bonus pros for living in Payson, Utah: Onion Days and the Salmon Supper. Another bonus pro for Payson has to be the Payson Hospital. It's the Payson Mountain View Hospital. I was actually born at the Payson Hospital, but not the one I'm talking about. They built the new one, which was after I was born in 1979. It's been there in Payson, just off of the highway on the east side of town. It's been there a lot of years, served a lot of people, and for the longest time, it was really the only hospital in South Utah County. The next closest hospital was up in Provo. Now they've got a hospital in Spanish Fork, but the Payson Mountain View Hospital's been there a long time. I had emergency appendectomy surgery there back in the mid-90s, so they took care of me, kept me going. My one son says I have to mention that my favorite son was born there. I have 3 sons. I like them all. But yes, my oldest son was born in Payson. And then I had another child born in that hospital. My youngest daughter, Lauren, was born there back in 2013. So it's been a really good hospital for our family. It's also saved the life of my father and of my father-in-law. Both of them have had some heart issues there and had heart surgery. Both had stents placed in their hearts at that hospital. So it's a great community asset to have a wonderful hospital right in Payson. So I've got one more bonus pro for you. This is probably the most important bonus pro, is the fact that home prices in Payson are cheaper relative to northern Utah County. So you're going to get, or you're going to get more bang for your buck buying a home in Payson compared to Provo, Orem, or Lehigh, American Fork, Highland areas, those northern cities. I would say probably somewhere in the range between $20,000 to $40,000 difference in prices between Payson and all the way up to Highland and Lehigh. So it's definitely worth it if you're willing. If you don't need to be closer to Salt Lake, you just need to be closer to Provo or something like that, then Payson is a great option for you because you'll get more bang for your buck in the home that you can buy. So my name is Scott Walters. I'm with Best USA Realty, and I appreciate you watching this video about the pros and cons of living in Payson, Utah. And if you're thinking of moving to this area anywhere in Provo or Utah Valley, reach out to me. I'd love to visit with you, share with you the pros and cons about whatever area that you're thinking of moving to. I've lived and worked in most of the communities in Utah Valley, so I know them all very well. I've been selling real estate here in the valley since the late 90s. I've been helping people do financing. At least I used to do that starting in the early 90s. So I've been in kind of the housing related industry since 1993. And so I'm very familiar with all the different areas and would love to just share my knowledge with you about what each area's pro and con is. So again, don't forget to like and subscribe to my video and click on that notification bell so that you get notified every time I drop a new video about what it's like living in Provo, Utah and all the surrounding cities in the Utah Valley area.